Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Pelican, built tough for all situations. Go to pelican.com. Yak Gadget, for all your fine kayak fishing accessory needs. Go to yakgadget.com. Eastport Marina, on the beautiful shores of Dale Hollow Lake. For all your lodging, kayaking, and fishing needs, go to eastport.info. Now let's get this show started.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mindset Podcast on the Paddle and Fin Network. I'm your host, Chris Slifka. Hope everybody out there is having a good day today. I want to get started first off by the time you guys hear this, we'll already be in Tennessee doing our Paddle and Fin Open tournament, but we still have the fantasy fishing going on all year long for the kayak side. You visit fantasizer.com to get signed up, or you can visit the Paddle and Fin Network, and it can take you straight over to Fantasizer to get signed up with that. But for today's guest, we have Cam Steele from the Faith and Fishing podcast. He asked to come on, and there's no better guest than I could think of. So let's bring him in. How you doing, man?
Hey, man. How's it going?
I'm doing great. How's your day going so far?
Oh, man. So far, so good.
Yep.
Can't complain any more than usual.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. It's a good day. You know, the weather kind of 75 one day, 20 degrees the next, and snowing. But, you know, that's what it is in Chicago, man.
I hear you.
So, for people who don't know about the podcast and who don't know about you, you want to kind of give them a rundown?
Yeah, for sure. So, like you said, my name is Cam Steele. I'm the host of the Faith and Fishing podcast, where it's a simple premise. I interview fishermen and about what they believe in, no matter what that is. I just wanted to give anglers a platform to talk about their faith, because it seems like, you know, no matter what circle you're in, faith, religion is one of those three things you don't talk about. So, this podcast is all about just giving them a chance to say, this is what I believe in. This is why. This is the story of how I came to believe that. And then we always got to throw some fishing talk in there too. So, so
that's what brings everybody together, is the fishing, and then we go onward from there.
Absolutely. You know? If I can bring someone on that I can learn something from, I can expand my understanding of the world and the people therein. That is awesome. And if I can bring someone on who ends up having a story that touches somebody or brings somebody closer to God, that's awesome too. So that's what Faith and Fishing is all about, man.
Yep. So what I've been doing lately, and this is how we'll get this podcast started. I've been asking my guests lately for the past 2 podcasts, what does mindset mean to them, whether it be on the water or off the water?
That's an awesome question. So mindset, that's where your head's at. So for me, I can't speak to tournament fishing. I'm a rookie whenever it comes to tournament fishing. I just signed on with the Central. I say signed on as if there's any kind of signing done, but I just started helping out with Central Carolina Kayak Fishing, CCKF, as the chaplain. So I decided I was going to fish a few tournaments this year, and first one is actually coming up this weekend. They are, because of the weather, they may end up changing it to Sunday, so I may not get to fish it this weekend, but that would be my first one in person. So for me, mindset on the water is just, I love being able to get out there in nature and just being calm. Which, I mean, everybody always talks about how calm I am anyway. I'm not if you need a hype guy, I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
But I am. If you need someone to kind of like bring the energy down, calm everybody down, I can be that soothing presence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, whenever it comes to like being stress free, that's me. So yeah, for mindset is just it's where your head's at, and fishing for me is one of those things that brings it back to center and just brings everything. You can tell I haven't been fishing in a while because I start to get on edge, and everybody's like, "You're never on edge. What's wrong?" It's like, well, I haven't been fishing.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is for a lot of people. It's definitely a way of kind of releasing stress. You know, I always say when I'm on the water, I have no problems.
That's right.
And, you know, all the problems go away when you're on the water. Number one, it's free to get out there, especially once you have the fishing pole. And,
Yep.
you know, people make it more expensive than we have to, but it really doesn't have to be all expensive. Like I seen this other day, a post for that Hobie kayak was 20 grand. That's like it's a fool. But it's like we show people that, but we also don't. We need to show people how inexpensive it can be too. You
That's
know,
right.
just to be on the water.
Absolutely. That's why I got into kayak fishing.
Yeah.
Because I was fishing from the bank, and I came across a YouTube channel, Zoffinger. I don't know if you've ever seen any of his videos. He had like one of those 8-foot lifetime kayaks that he like used PVC laying around and stuff to like turn it into. He called it the poor man's kayak fishing, or fishing kayak.
Yeah.
But I found a kayak from Walmart for like $250 and got into that, and that got me off the bank. And yeah, it was only it was 3 or 4 months until I was like, you know what, I'm about to sink this thing. I need something better. And I think I'm on
But
my
it started
fourth
that
kayak.
drive. You know, it started the drive into getting into the sport, and then
That's right.
at least you can see, hey, I like this before you spend the 5,000 on a Hobie. Hey, I like doing this. Now let me invest more into it.
That's right. And I mean, right now I'm in a Perception Pescador Pro. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's still just for the kayak itself, it's still less than $1,000.
Yep.
I paddle. I like to paddle. If I were staking a bunch of money on this and I was going out for the purpose of competing, yeah, I would try to find a way to give myself a bit of an edge. But if I'm going out there to enjoy myself, I really like paddling. So I'm going to stick with that. And I mean, that means, for less than $1,000, I get myself out on the water in a really awesome boat. Paddle's great. It's stable. If somebody is, a little less, what did Will Smith say in Men in Black? A little less soggy around the midsection.
Yeah.
A little less top heavy. They might be able to stand up in it. I can't, but yeah. So but yeah, the cost thing, that's why I got into a kayak for sure. So yeah, definitely loving that. And it also, it gets you close to nature, and that's something that's
Oh
big for
yeah, it
me.
does.
I'm always stopping to look around, like to see. I'm the one that I'll be driving, and I'll tell my wife, "Did you see that? A bald eagle just flew over." She's like, "Eyes on the road."
Yeah, no, I do the same thing, man. I get to a point now where nobody can take me near water because
Yeah,
I start looking for fish, or like, oh, if I was on the water, I'd cast to that spot right there. That looks like a good spot. And
yeah.
yeah, I can't walk down by a river or a lake anymore
It's like
without putting my mindset right into, oh, where would I fish if I was on this water?
it's like that meme, like it's like me anytime I'm near water, and it's like the Wolverine like looking over the thing. It's like, I want to fish that.
Yep. Yep. So how did you get your podcast started? Was it was this something that just came about, or was it something that you felt like you always wanted to do? Because I know I said uh, this about a week or two ago on another podcast that I've been wanting to do this for 2 years, and finally, after reaching out to Brian and talking to him, I finally did it. He
Right.
helped me make that jump where you always have this fear of, well, will people like me? Will people want to listen? Do I even like my own voice? Like all these things that people talk about, and finally he's just like, just do it. So how did yours get started?
Well, mine was an idea for a long time that I was hoping somebody else would do. Um, and I was listening to Bass Fishing Dads, and Chad Hoover was up there, and he mentioned his faith, and I had heard a bunch of other fishermen. They a bunch of people in the fishing community are believers of some sort, and
Yeah.
um, they always have a little snippet there, here and there, and it's kind of I'm going to say it, but I'm going to back off really quick. And I was like,
Well, the biggest thing that I've seen, I don't mean to cut you off, but the biggest thing I've seen, I was watching the Bassmaster Classic this past weekend, and almost every single one of them had something to say about faith.
right,
Faith is either faith or family over sponsors and fishing or anything else. I thought that was really good to see versus the guys who used to go up there and just talk about this crankbait that I threw or this thing that I threw.
right. Yeah, so I was like, that would be a really cool idea is to just talk faith with fishermen. So I kind of had that in my mind. I was looking for it, couldn't find it, and then I think it was Fluke Master who was on another podcast that said, if there's content out there that you want to see and you can't find it, it's on you to make it. And so I tell people I got guilted into it. But I thought about it for a long time, and finally I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. Now, my wife didn't see any of the thinking or anything like that, so I'm sure to her it was like we're sitting down one day, and I just look up at dinner and say, I'm going to start a podcast. But yeah, I told Paul on Bass and Brews, like I can talk myself out of anything. So I wanted to make sure I was locking myself into this. So I went, and I have a buddy who I used to work with, who is a graphic designer now, and I was like, "Hey man, I need a logo," and he came up with the logo, and the and I was like, "All right, now I've got a logo. I've got to do this." And so I started interviewing people, just kind of getting a backlog, um, and went for it, and it has been a ride. It's been whenever I talked to Josh Carter from One Objective, he was the first interview I had. He was the first person I talked to, and he said, "Give it a year." He said, "After a year, if you want to quit, you can quit, but give it a year, because you won't get any traction until you get a year."
Yeah.
And man, was he right? Because so many podcasts come up, they're really good, and then they quit because I'm sure you went through this too. Whenever you started yours, you get started and you upload that first episode, and you're
Well,
like staring
yeah,
at the analytics, like, why has only one person listened to this?
I don't even. I learned. Well, I didn't learn. I was told by Brian, who's the person who put Pat on Fin all together, that he doesn't even really. We can ask for the analytics if we want to, but I don't even pay attention to him because he says it's better not to,
Right.
and it's totally true. Because whether you have 500,000 people listening or 500 people listening, he said that he just wants to reach one person that he can help.
That's awesome.
The same thing probably with you, and it's totally true. A lot of these podcasts after 5 episodes, they're done because they didn't hit a goal that they wanted to hit, or they didn't. And yeah, I like you said, you made a commitment once you made the logo. Once I, put it on with Paddle and Fin, that was kind of like my commitment to I'm gonna do this.
Absolutely. But yeah, so that I will say I do look at the analytics on the location side of things, just because I like to see where people are listening from and see like this country. I've got somebody listening in this country, probably a military guy, or I've got like those same 5 states that I've been missing since Christmas. I just want those 5 states to start listening. So if you are in either North Dakota or South Dakota, Maine, who else? Wyoming, and there's one other one. I don't remember the other one. I want to say like Vermont or something. If you're one of those 5, you better start listening.
Yeah, man. Well, those are some hard states that aren't really like fishing. I mean, Wyoming is, but they're more fly fishing side from what I know.
Right.
But yeah, I know because they talked about at the classic that there's Wyoming and I think North Dakota or South Dakota. I think where both of them are the only people who haven't qualified for a classic as far as states go.
Okay.
And so it's like it's weird that you say that, and then they said that this past week, and it's like maybe there's a reason why then.
Well, that makes me feel a little
bit. So, how many episodes are you in now?
How many episodes? Let me pull that up real quick.
Because I know I'm closing in on a year now.
I am at it doesn't tell me. Somewhere around 50, 51.
Oh, so you're closing in kind of. How often does it air? Does it air every week or every other week?
So right now it airs every other week.
Okay.
Whenever I first started,
so it's the same as mine.
Yeah, so whenever I first started, it was every week, just because I had so many guests. Then we found out that we were having a kid, and I was like, we're going to back it down to every other week. Then he was born, and I was like, y'all are going to get a new episode when you get a new episode. And then after about 6 months or so, I was like, okay, we can start getting that consistency back, because consistency is key whenever it comes to any kind of content creation. So
yep, I agree with that.
Yep, the last episode actually aired today, which was with Charlie Wells. He's at Digital Wells on Instagram.
Nice.
That was an awesome conversation. So
nice. So tell me some more about your fishing then. How do you approach fishing? How do you approach the day? I know it up until this weekend, it's been all like fun fishing, but we still go out with a goal. Like even when I'm fun fishing, I still go out with the goal of catching either a certain amount of fish or learning a new technique, or just trying to catch the biggest one in the lake.
Right. So yeah, for me, if I ever get to the point where I'm not fun fishing anymore, if it's not fun, I'm hanging it up. I love it. I love it, but I'm not going to spend time on something that I don't enjoy. It's got to stay fun for me. But for me, I'm a multi-species guy. So a lot of times it's going out trying to target a new species. I have goals for different species. One of the ones I fell in love with recently was carp, and fishing for carp from the kayak is a fun game.
Is it on a fly rod?
No, I have not a fly rod yet.
That's a blast, man. I do it every summer.
Yeah, with me, fly fishing is one of those things that it's like I know I would really enjoy it. And that's why I'm trying to stay away from it because I've I told I think it was actually Charlie. It was only in the past 3 or 4 years that I finally got good with a bait caster, and it's like I just want to spend time being good at something before I try to pick up something new.
Yeah.
And I also don't really want to convince the wife to let me get into something new that's just as expensive as everything else I do. So
Well, it's not something new. It's just a new technique.
right.
It's still fishing.
Right. But yeah, I would love to. There's a lake here that I fish a lot that I know they're in there, and I'm really trying to break the 30-pound mark for carp on a kayak. But whenever it comes to bass, um, it's go out and uh, learning. Every time I go out, I want to learn something new, whether that be learning a new technique, whether that be learning how to read my fish finder, learning learning how to read the water, read conditions, um, and learn how to let the fish tell me what they want instead of me trying to force something down their throat.
Yeah.
So that is that's a big one, but and just learning or going out and decompressing. That's one of the biggest goals that I have out there is just spending time with God, spending time in nature, and just letting go of work, letting go of stuff that is annoying me or whatever, and getting, like I said earlier, back to center, getting back to back to that stress-free mode, and going from there. So
Yeah, I like that. Because that's sometimes for me, no matter what's going on, and I said this a little bit earlier, just being out there, if I catch a fish or if I don't catch a fish, it's peaceful, like you're saying. It's very peaceful. I can go on the water, and then by the time I get off, whatever I was mad about or upset about or anything like that, doesn't matter anymore, you know? And I feel like fishing does that for a lot of people. And
absolutely.
more than catching the fish, it does that for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I have people ask me all the time how I have such a low key, even keeled demeanor. And it's like I could be stressed out about stuff, but I kind of have a system for stress that I'm like, if you want to be stress free, um, there are a few things that, like, if you can do this, and it applies to fishing, it applies to everyday life, it applies to work, it applies to everything. Um, First thing is you got to trust.
Yeah.
You got to learn to trust, whether that is trusting other people, whether that is trusting whatever deity you worship, or whether that is trusting yourself. In fishing, a lot of times it comes down to trusting yourself. If you can't trust your gut, whenever your gut tells you it's time to make a switch, either switching spots or switching lures or switching colors, whatever, then you're going to be stressed out there on the water because you're not gonna feel in control. And that's what it is. It's a control thing. Whenever it comes to stress, like, people like to be in control, and there are just some things that we cannot control. Sometimes we have to have other people in control, and people do not like letting other people control things unless you trust them. It's kind of like whenever you're a kid, and you're in the back seat of the car and your parents are driving, like, and for a lot of families, it's dad's driving. um you never had any
Not this family, but that's because she doesn't like my driving.
That's awesome. But yeah, I mean, you know, you never are concerned whenever your dad's in the front seat, or when your mom's in the front seat, or whenever your parents are in control of the vehicle. You're not looking at the road. You're not stressed out about where you're going. You're in the back seat. You're playing a video game, or you're talking with your buddies, or you're asleep even. I mean, you're not worried about what's going on. Now, whenever your baby sister gets in the passenger seat or in the driver's seat because she got her driver's permit, her learner's permit, and now she's driving, you were scanning the road. You were holding on to the old crap handle with everything you've got. Your heart is pumping. You are not calm. You are not stress free because you do not trust her driving skills. And that's the thing is, now sometimes it is that situation where that person, you really can't trust them, but you've got to learn to trust yourself to know when that is. So trust is a big thing. Surrounding yourself with people that you trust, and something I always say, surround yourself with people who are good at the things that you're bad at. Because if you can trust that I'm good at this and they're good at the things that I'm not good at, then no matter what comes at us, we can handle it, kind of thing. So in fishing, that's surround yourself with people who are good at the things that you're bad at so that you can learn from them. Or if you're on a team, like a fishing team or any kind of team, like if you all have the same skill set, you're not going to succeed. But like, if you look at me, like, two of my weakest points in bass fishing are finesse fishing and jigs. And two of my only two lure sponsors for the podcast are Jade's Jigs, who do finesse jigs, and Mr. B Lure Company, who specializes in jigs. And I am bound and determined to make those two things a confidence thing. It may not happen this year. I hope it does, but it may not happen this year. It may happen. It may happen later than that. I just have to force myself to leave the square bill at home. But yeah, that's another thing is, whenever you can learn to trust other people, you can learn to trust God, learn to trust yourself. You're okay whenever you're not in control. And whenever you're okay when you're not in control, you're even keeled. You're not stressed out over everything. So that's kind of my system in a nutshell whenever it comes to being stress free. So I'm sure I'm leaving a bunch out, but maybe I should sit down and write a book someday. But
we all should, man.
That's right. That's right. I work in a bookstore, so I absolutely agree with that. Everybody should sit down and write a book.
Yeah, I agree. Everyone has a story to tell, man.
Absolutely.
Not everybody wants to. It's the problem. Yeah, so you said we're going on almost 30 minutes now, but you said this will be your first tournament coming up this weekend if they don't cancel it or move the days. Is there anything pressure-wise that you're worried about, or is it just let me go out there and see what I could do?
Well, so it's kind of it's kind of a, I want to see, this is kind of like my measuring stick, kind of see where I am and where I need to go. I guess the thing I'm most concerned about is the weather. I mean, that's one of those things you can't control. So, I mean, there's not really a point in me worrying about it, but that's probably going to be the hardest thing about it, because whenever we wake up in the morning, it's supposed to be 61 degrees and rainy. And then there's supposed to be a 40-degree drop throughout the day. So whenever we go to bed that night, I think it's supposed to be in the low 20s or in the mid 20s.
So the best weather is going to be in the morning, or the hottest weather will be in the morning.
Right. So it's supposed to be really windy. So maybe some rain and stuff too. So
that's chatterbait, a spinnerbait, drop shot.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the first thing that comes to my mind. I don't even know what lake you're on, man.
Yeah. So we're on Harris, Sharon Harris Reservoir, which is like one of the one of the big three here in the Triangle area, where I think it holds the record for the biggest biggest 5-fish bag in North Carolina.
Okay.
So there's some monster fish in there. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And I think, um, trying not to let any kind of nerves get to me. Um, that'll be the thing too. But I mean, for me, I'm not doing this as a trying to make a living or anything.
Yeah.
I'm out there to have fun and to spend time with people, to love on people, and to be there as a chaplain. So that's the thing I'm most looking forward to with tournament fishing this season is just getting a chance to love on people and to be there for people. So going to be doing a prayer call that morning, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it doesn't end up getting pushed back to Sunday. If it gets pushed back to Sunday, I can't do it. My wife has a pottery market, but so I'll be on daddy duty. But yeah, hopefully it'll be
Saturday.
a good safe Saturday tournament. So yeah, that's kind of where my mindset is I'm going out there uh, to kind of measure myself against other people, because I've never really done that other than a few charity tournaments, and I've never really, I haven't gone and fished every day of the tournament and tried to see where I was on the standings. It was just I'm donating to a good cause and let me go have some fun while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, the first advice I would give, not that you're even asking, but the first advice I would give is to obviously have fun and to just fish your strengths and what you know. Don't listen to, don't necessarily listen to what everybody else is doing. Not because they could be right or wrong, but they're doing it because they know they're good at it, and you should go out there and do what you're good at. And I had learned that big time last year.
right.
Everyone around me is throwing, swim jigs and all this other stuff, and I was just sitting with my little drop shot, you know,
That's awesome. Yeah.
not
Power
caring about
fishing,
what other
here I
people
come.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, if it takes so much mental energy for me to put down a square bill. It
Yeah.
really does. Even if I
But
know it's not a good square bill bite, like
yeah, decisions on the water during tournament time can stress a lot of people out. But like you said, just go with what your mind's telling you. And that's kind of what I always did too, is just go with what I feel is the right decision at the right moment. And it doesn't always work out, but at least you stuck to your game plan. You
absolutely.
know, I'm sure you agree with that, you know,
I
and
definitely do.
and just probably a ton of other people who agree with that, and then they're gonna go out and do the exact opposite. But
Absolutely.
yeah,
That's
we
how
all
I
get
do too.
sucked into that. So, well, before we end this, is there anything else that you wanted to say, or any sponsors or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, be sure to check me out on Instagram at faithnfishnpod. Um, we have a Facebook group called Faith and Fishing, and that is just I need to. It's been a little slow lately. I need to go back in there and uh, that's something I'm not good at is moderating that group, but I need to go back in there and get that going again. We just pray for each other. We tell fishing stories, keep each other informed of how everything's going. Just a group of anglers, like-minded anglers, just kind of being there for each other. And then so I just started a Patreon page at the still working on it, still trying to learn how it goes, how it works. But what I am going to be doing is I'm going to be putting videos of my my conversations with my guests on there. So you'll be able to see unedited conversations with my guest, and you'll be able to see it before the episode comes out. So you can go to patreon.com/faithnfishin for that. And then so we've got a website. There is a merch store. And so go to my Instagram at faithnfishnpod, click on the link in the bio, go down to the merch store. We've got hoodies, t-shirts, and stickers. And since we hit 4,000 downloads this month through the end of March, I'm doing a promo code. It's FNF4K, and you'll get 20% off, and that will go through the end of March. Just doing that instead of a giveaway this year, or this milestone rather. Let's see what else is going on. Started Faith and Fishing live, so every first Tuesday at this point, having a live show, and I'm not very good at it yet, but I'm still kind of fine tuning that. We are that was over on Instagram, but starting next month, it's going to be over on Facebook and YouTube, just because through StreamYard and other stuff, having the video that I want to have is a lot easier through those two. Going through Instagram did not work out very well through StreamYard.
Instagram
because-
needs to get their stuff together.
I'm
Start
able to
letting
find
these
a
other
work way to do
platforms.
it.
Yeah.
I was able to find a workaround to do it through my computer, but I wasn't able to see comments, and that's kind of the whole point of a live video. So,
Yep.
gotta make sure that we can do it as best as possible. So I'm going to be moving over to Facebook and Instagram for that. Check out the podcast. It's just Faith and Fishing Podcast, and it is on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and a bunch of others that I'm still like, I didn't even know that was a thing, but apparently I'm on there. And we are, I definitely want to say thank you. Most importantly to the listeners, everyone who's listened to the podcast, whether you've only listened to one or whether you've listened to every single one of them, it means the world to me that you're listening. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to my sponsors. So I've already mentioned Jade's Jigs and Mr. B Lure Company, Atolus. They are sunglass floats or retainers. So it's these guys right here. You drop your sunglasses in the water, you can get them back because they float. And I mean, these things, like, you can't break them. If somehow you find a way to break them, if somehow you find a way to break them, the warranty's so good they replace it. Speaking of losing stuff, I'm super clumsy, as you can see by me banging against my microphone and everything. Stuff. So another one of my sponsors is around getting your stuff back if you drop it in the water. So let's Save Your Outdoors. You cut your cork or EVA off the butt of your rod, put that on there, and it works like a inflatable PFD. There's a salt bobbin that dissolves whenever, so it's got a pressure sensitive plug. Whenever water gets in, it only gets in whenever there's pressure. It dissolves the salt and the spring shoots the float off, and you can get it back if it sinks, which is fantastic. It has saved me a lot of money. And then Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle is an awesome kayak shop and bike shop over in Greensboro, North Carolina. And then last but not least, Quail Ridge Books is where I work, and they are the sponsor of the newest segment on the podcast, which is the What You're Reading segment, where I review faith and or fishing related books. So yeah, it is. Those are the sponsors, and thank you, Chris, for having me on. I've had a blast. And yeah, obviously, gotta thank God for everything he's been involved in and doing and all that good stuff. So absolutely, thank you, man.
No problem. Well, everybody, thank you first off for being on here and coming on and sharing your story and everything like that.
Absolutely.
And want to tell the guests, I hope everybody has a good week and stays positive, and we will talk to you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode here on Paddle and Fin. Be sure to drop a 5-star rating, a thumbs up, or smash that subscribe button on any platform you're listening in on. Be sure to check us out on Waypoint TV, waypointtv.com. Make sure you sign up for the Fantasy Kayak Fishing League at paddleandfin.com/fantasy. You could support this show through Patreon, patreon.com/paddleandfin. Don't forget to check out the website, paddleandfin.com. Catch us on YouTube. If you got a question, comment, or want to see a future guest on the show, be sure to email us at paddleandfin@gmail.com. Shout out to our show supporters, Yak Gadget. You can check out all the fine kayak accessories at yakgadget.com. Pelican Professional. For all your cases, coolers, and lighting needs, go to pelican.com. Rocktown Adventures, your Midwest premier paddle sports destination. Go to rocktownadventures.com. Eastport Marina, the beautiful destination on Dale Hollow Lake. If you're looking for lodging, kayaks, kayak accessories, or anything fishing related on the beautiful Dale Hollow Lake, go to eastport.info. And Jigmasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com and fill your tackle boxes today.